We're staging for another half hour of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Huff and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, here's your hosts, Doug and Marty.
This is The Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for being here for our half hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. J.R. Todd gets his first victory of the 2016 season, and we'll talk to the top fuel pilot for Coletta Motorsports. We're in the beams and set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast, around the world, this is The Straight Line on Drag Racing on MRN.com. Along with four-time IHRA Top Fuel champion and 10-time NHRA National Event winner in the Top Fuel category, Doug Herbert in studio. You're not on the phone. Woo-hoo!
We're back.
You are back. I'm Marty Huff, by the way. Congratulations on a fantastic trip to Southern California, but a huge milestone for brakes in training 20,000 teenagers so far, and lots more to come. But congratulations on that. That's a huge milestone.
That was a big, I had no idea. I mean, and a lot of our listeners would know the reason for starting brakes. Anyways, I started it with a plan on training my son's friends. And so that first year we trained 50 kids. And then I had a couple hundred more parents that emailed me and called and sent letters and said, hey, we'd like you to train our kids too. And so then it turned into, in 2009, about 200 kids. And then in 2010, it turned into about 500 kids. And then it just boom, boom, boom. And this year we're going to be about 8,000 kids. So it's one-on-one, hands-on driving, like advanced driving instruction, similar to what you would get at Bondurant or a school like that, except we throw in a twist of safety. Safety and making good decisions is kind of like the number one thing that we teach. And then, of course, we teach them skills behind the wheel. But, 20,000 kids that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. One at a time, that's a lot of kids.
Yeah. And in this trip, you were there for an entire month. Got a lot of good exposure out there. There were television crews. I mean, I saw the trailers and things, and lots of attention on social media. So I mean, it was a productive trip all the way around.
Yeah, it was a big time. We Brakes has a new agreement with Con Media. Con does a lot of the PR for a lot of aftermarket automotive companies involved with SEMA and so forth. So we had a lot of meetings with them. We were at the NHRA Museum. We were at the Peterson Museum talking with those guys and how do we work together and different media outlets. It was pretty fun. So Mimi, the first thing we get back here, she goes, "It is humid here. I forgot." And she grew up in Charlotte.
Yeah, so, right.
But anyways, we had a great trip, productive trip, got a lot accomplished, and looking forward to doing more stuff all around the country. We've got schools this weekend here in ZMAX. We've got schools coming up in Portland, Oregon. Actually, we've got a new school we're going to announce in Portland.
Nice.
So a whole bunch of neat stuff happening with brakes.
And racing, and talking about big events.
Yeah.
Racing over the last 2 weeks, Denver, Sonoma, live on Fox Network, not Fox Sports 1.
Ratings way up.
Ratings obviously sky high. And we talked on the phone last week about how the cream rises to the top. John Force, when the lights are on and they're at their brightest, John Force finds a way to get it done. 2 in a row, going for the sweep this weekend in Seattle.
You know what? And Force has not got the memo that he's old. He hasn't got that memo.
No.
Like, Chris Karamessinis has got Force beat by 20-some years. But Force, man, he gets into the corner, and he does it every time. He comes out swinging. He's a good motivator. He's a good he just figures out how to get it done. It's surrounding himself with the right people, and obviously looking at his reaction times, his age hasn't slowed him down any. But 2 in a row for Force, incredible. And then Angel, low ET top speed, almost busting 200 miles an hour in the Pro Stock bike. That was big. Greg Anderson winning Pro Stock. I guess it's not a huge surprise, but Alan Johnson winning last week, then Greg Anderson coming back, and they keep that KB racing streak is like, man, they are tough.
But I guess the more significant factor in this week is that he catches Greg Anderson catches Bob Glidden. 85 wins in the pro stock category. I mean, you think about Glidden, and I mean, you're talking about the top of the mountain here. You know, he and WJ. And now you got to put Greg Anderson up there, and he's still active. So I kind of have a problem in kind of putting him there. But statistically, that's where Greg Anderson is.
Well, statistically, he's there, and then you have Warren Johnson that's out there a little ways. But what you have to remember is the same thing that what we've talked about before. When Warren Johnson's been more recent, and I mean, Bob Glidden hasn't been gone from racing all that long. But when Bob Glidden was winning all those races and championships, there was 8 or 10 races in a year. Think about that.
Yeah.
That was, it's different. And if you ask Greg Anderson, he would probably tell you the same thing. He'd say, you know what, I'm honored to be in that position. It's a different era now, and it is. But no matter what, a win's a win, and 85 wins.
That's significant.
That's pretty stout. He's got a little ways to go to catch WJ at 97 wins, but that's easily attainable, I would say, for the way they're doing.
And boy, at that point, I think WJ is starting to, get a formula for getting back into the car, because the last thing he wants to do is have somebody break his record or catch him for the record.
Especially when it's Greg Anderson. When Greg Anderson started out working for WJ, being WJ's guy, and now all of a sudden he goes out there. I don't know. Warren, it's hard to say. I like Warren, and
sure.
Warren would say something like, "Well, I taught him everything he knows," or something. Warren would have some kind of a comeback like that, which is probably partially true, but. Well, you can't take anything away from Greg Anderson's ability and work ethic, that's for sure. Yeah, but he learned a lot of that from WJ.
From WJ. And so, but yeah, you're right. Having somebody break that record of his, he'd probably have a problem with it. He's going to have a real problem when Greg Anderson gets there. But you're right. There'll be something snarky or something like that. We talked to Snake a couple of weeks ago. Just before Chicago. Yeah, and that's when Caps caught him for national event wins. And Snake said, I'll probably send something snarky over to him, kind of backhanded compliment sort of deal. And it'd probably be the same thing with WJ.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And Bo Butner, low ET and top speed and pro stock, which is, there again, KV power, but that's pretty neat. And I'm still impressed, though, by Angel. 199.76 miles an hour.
Wow.
That was close.
That far away from getting
Del Worsham, low ET, again. Matt Hagan, top speed. I was happy to see that the Top Fuel dragsters, Steve Torrance, had low ET and top speed, and the dragsters were faster than the funny cars, finally. I hate seeing it when the funny cars are faster than the dragsters. Funny cars should not be faster than a dragster.
No, you're right. And, we've talked about this, and you've talked about how the funny cars are streamlined. Since they're
aerodynamic,
and they have an aerodynamic advantage. One of the things that I did not realize, and something that Bruno Massel on Fox brought up, is that the way the air goes over the nose of the funny car goes straight into the injector as clean air. Which I hadn't really thought about. When you're talking about a top fueler, the air is dirty because there's nothing around that injector. It's all it's
somewhat,
jumbled.
but back in the 90s when the injector was low and down behind the cage, but now the injector's up there pretty high, and they're in pretty clean air. But that is definitely true. I mean, funny car, you have a little bit of an advantage probably from all that air getting rammed right in the injector. Not much different than a scoop on a pro stock car, which they don't have anymore. But I would say that would be a fair thing to say for sure. But if you look at a modern top fuel car, the injector scoop sticks up about a foot above the roll cage, so it's not like it's sitting in a hidden area or anything like in the old days.
Yeah, right. But still, one of the advantages that the funny cars have right now, and one of the reasons why we're seeing lower ETs at times, bigger speeds at times, and this one not being so much, and we're down because one of the reasons being that we're down at sea level, and coming up at Seattle, we're going to be the same thing.
Seattle's going to be fast, always is.
Yeah, no question about that. Speaking of being fast, one of the guys that was really fast this weekend in Sonoma, as a matter of fact, he won the top fuel category. J.R. Todd, he joins us next.
This is The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. More coming up right after this.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job, our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
O'Reilly. Need auto parts but can't get to a store right now? Head to O'ReillyAuto.com. Buy your parts online and pick them up in any of the 4,600 O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide. No shipping cost, easy returns, and convenient pickup on your schedule. Shop your way at O'ReillyAuto.com. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, check out Slingin' Dirt with David and Ashley Strim. They talk with dirt late model, dirt modified, and UMP modified drivers from all over America. Join David and Ashley on MRN.com, the MRN app, and YouTube as they give you the news, results, and their opinions of dirt track racing, plus interviews with the biggest race winners and newsmakers from New York to California and all dirt tracks in between. Slingin' Dirt Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, the MRN app, and MRN.com. Welcome back to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Appreciate you being with us this afternoon on The Straight Line. Joining us on the hotline right now is driver Connie Coletta's Sealmaster Top Fuel Dragster and the winner this weekend in Sonoma. J.R. Todd joins us. J.R., thanks for joining us. Congratulations. Big win for you guys.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me on again.
You got it, JR. You know, any win's a good win, but going up there and getting it done like you did, having Loey T a second round, the car ran really good. I mean, that was no back end to win deal at all
right.
by any means. It ran good. It was consistent, and you did the job.
Yeah, 3 out of the 4 runs, it ran 374, and we had a little hiccup there in the semis against Dougie and Jimmo and Smoker Tires. I was fortunate enough to get by them. But, yeah, Sunday it was good and consistent. That's what it takes to win those races. You know, got to give all the credit to Connie and Rob and all the guys on that Sealmaster team. They got the job done.
What is it like when you go up against Doug Coletta? If you're parked side by side. Is it kind of Connie versus Jimmo, or are they putting their heads together?
I mean, I've seen it go both ways, where they're putting their heads together or they're competing against each other. But you know, it's going to be a tough matchup running those guys. And the good thing about it is, you know, we got a Coletta car going to the final round with the opportunity to win a race. But, yeah, running Doug, you got to be on top of your game. He's one of, if not the best drivers out there.
Well, in addition to NHRA legend, of course, Connie Coletta, you've got Rob Flynn over there on your team, which is kind of a newer addition. Yeah. And tell us how Rob's been kind of fitting in. And I know Rob, like Rob, he's helped on my car for some time as well.
Yeah, I think that's been a big turning point, a big difference for us this year. We were a little inconsistent at the beginning of the year, and now the last 3 or 4 races, that thing's really been consistent qualifying. We've been qualifying better, which, you know, setting ourselves up better for first round on race day. And he's been working really well with Connie on, you know, maybe calming down at times or talking him out of things that should or shouldn't do. And then Connie, he doesn't go to Denver anymore, so Rob was, you know, communicating with him back and forth on the phone, and, you know, we ran pretty well there as well. So it's nice to have him on board, and just another set of eyes and ears that we needed for that team.
Sonoma just seems like a Coletta playground. I mean, we know that Doug's success there has been phenomenal, and now you get a win there. And what is it about Sonoma that just makes those Coletta cars run really good?
I mean, I would say as a whole, they just keep good notes from their past success that they have there. And that's definitely one of my favorite tracks on the tour. I mean, the staff there, they're first class and, you know, treat you really well. And any of Bruton's tracks are by far the nicest facilities that we go to. And, you know, Eric Medley's got a lot of family and friends from around that area. And he and I got to share the win there in 2006. So it was cool to go back there 10 years later and win there again.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a good one. Did anybody get hurt in the dog pile on the starting line there?
I was worried about Flynn. He might get hurt. He's pretty skinny compared to Jimmo and Jono and all those guys up there. So I was hoping they didn't gut punch him too hard, but he said he survived. And then it's not even safe at the end of the track anymore. My guys get down there and they're trying to tackle me there at the end once I got my helmet and gear off. So I need to, I guess, keep that on until they get down there in the tow vehicle.
For the people that are streaming right now on MRN.com, we're showing the picture of you and the picture that you had on you on that final run, Kenny Youngblood sketch there with a little message from with Eric Medlin. Just kind of tell us about that and how that happened.
Yeah, Mimi, Eric's mom, she came up to me right after the semifinals with that sketch that Youngblood made and asked me if I would take it down the track with me, which usually I don't like doing that sort of thing, but I wasn't going to tell her no by any means, especially in Sonoma. So, yeah, it was cool. I had a little extra Eric Mojo helping us get the win there, and it was cool to be able to show everybody that after we did get the win and give it back to Mimi. So that was pretty special for her and me as well.
Yeah, that is definitely special. What are you guys doing over there? You just talked about a little bit with Rob Flynn and some changes, but 3 rounds in the last 4 races, man, that is that's really going the right direction, dude.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was starting to wonder if we were ever going to be able to finish the deal in the final round. You go to 3 finals and not win, it starts to get pretty aggravating. But it's hard to be that frustrated when you're going around and gaining points on the cars in front of you. And it's getting that time of year where you got to start making a move. So hopefully we're going in the right direction at the right time of the year and then getting ready and gearing up for the countdown.
Yeah, all anybody wanted to talk about after Atlanta was you losing by about a half an inch at 320 miles an hour, which was a record run. That had to have been frustrating. Yeah, it was great to have a Coletta car win. I understand. But you guys want to win. I mean, you are just ultra competitive. And every time I heard that, I go, JR's got to be pulling his hair out because you got to listen to that every time that somebody brings it up.
Yeah, Marty. I mean, ever since that Sunday in Atlanta, I've heard about it at least once a week.
Yeah, you had to.
Every race, and people are like, "Oh man, that's awesome! Congratulations!" Or for me, getting beat on a hole shot. That's Doug would tell you that's the worst thing as a driver. But it was good for Dougie and Coletta Group as a whole to get the win and have 2 cars in the final round. But at the same time, man, I wanted to get that win for my guys and lock our spot in the traction shootout. Which once again, a year later, we win the race, a race too late, so to say, as the last spot to race in for the track shootout has already been taken. So now we'll rely on the fan vote lottery and hopefully take that number 8 spot and get the race for $100,000. But if not, then we'll just focus on qualifying well there at Indy and winning the big go.
Hey, JR, tell us a little bit about Seal Master and their products and what they do and their involvement with Coletta Motorsports.
Yeah, they're kind of new to this to drag racing. They actually came on board with Coletta's at the same time that I did there in early spring of 2014, and just kind of stepped up their involvement each year. They have the NHRA track walk, and now they're the primary sponsor with my team. And whether you need your driveway or a county highway sealed over, they're the best when it comes to pavement sealer. And got to thank all the Seal Master franchisees for stepping up and supporting us. And it's cool to see them, pretty much each week, every different region of the country that we're in. There's some franchisees with some customers out there, and showing them what it's all about and making new friends and partners at the same time. So that's a cool business tool that we have at our disposal, and can't thank all of them enough for helping us out.
Not only has Coletta Motorsports picked up their program from top to bottom, funny car side, last year a championship, and then Top Fuel obviously running really well, but so is everybody else. If the Force Camp now, they've got their program up and running. Torrance, with the partnership with Alan Johnson, both of those teams running really well. Now all of a sudden, here comes the Lucas guys, and you had to race those guys in the finals because It hadn't been the greatest of 2016s for Richie Crampton and Morgan Lucas and those guys. So just kind of talk about the competition overall, especially now that we're getting into the back end of the season and heading into Indy.
Yeah, I mean, there's at least 10 to 12 solid, performing cars in Top Fuel right now. And there's no easy draws on race day. I mean, everybody is competing at a high level. And, a few years ago, it used to be, you make your one shot Friday night to get your spot, for qualifying, then go to work on your race day set up on Saturday. Where now, I mean, Torrance, he went, 69 on Saturday in the sun last week in Sonoma. I mean, that's how much the performance of these things have picked up over the last year or so, and it's crazy. A lot of times it's coming down to the driver on the starting line, getting off the line thousandths of a second ahead of the next guy, a la, Dougie there in Atlanta beat me by less than 10,000th, I guess it was. So, it's crazy, and it's fun to be part of. I mean, I think once the countdown comes around, you're going to see probably some of the best racing that NHRA has ever produced.
AJR, it was good to see Connie in the winner's circle pictures there after the race. Was that the first time Connie been in the winner's circle with you, or?
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
That was something else that was wearing on me all this year. Those final rounds, he'd been there for all of them, and just couldn't get the job done. I was like, man, I want to win with him so bad, and had never done it because of, my two previous wins with Colettos were on the Western Swing, and Connie missed both of those. So to have him there, that was awesome. And I can't repeat the first thing that he said to me after the final, but it was definitely pretty funny. And Sonoma, they gave me a trophy there that had a goblet of wine on it, so I handed that to him, and he downed that wine in no time. So it was cool to be able to share those memories and pictures with him in the winner's circle after the race there.
That's awesome. J.R. Todd, winner of the Coletta Motorsports Seal Master Top Fuel Dragster. Congratulations last weekend, and good luck coming up here in up in the Great Northwest this weekend.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Driver of the Seal Master Top Fuel Dragster, that is J.R. Todd. When we return, lots more from Sonoma, and coming up, we'll preview what's happening in Seattle.
This is The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We'll have more for you right after this.
O'Reilly.
Need auto parts but can't get to a store right now? Head to O'ReillyAuto.com. Buy your parts online and pick them up in any of the 4,600 O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide. No shipping cost, easy returns, and convenient pickup on your schedule. Shop your way at O'ReillyAuto.com. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The grill is hot and the cooler is cold at America's Tailgate Party, NASCAR USA. Join us each weekend as your host and head chef Rob Tanner serves up the hottest hits and country music, and Steve Post drops by with NASCAR news straight from the sport's top garages and shops. We have 2 hours of country music at the speed of sound, getting you ready for NASCAR racing. Rev up your weekend at America's Tailgate Party, NASCAR USA.
Motor Racing Network has a way for you to reach out and express your thoughts and opinions on NASCAR. It's the MRN Fan Forum Hotline.
Just wondering what's the first thing you tend to think of? I was curious about those new rules from what I heard.
Call in 844-4-ASK-MRN. Got a question or comment for a driver or MRN personality? 844-4-ASK-MRN.
You guys keep it on. Let's see you guys next week.
It's the Fan Forum Hotline, your connection to the sport of NASCAR.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, it's back to Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to J.R. Todd for joining us on The Straight Line today. Some not-so-good news coming out of Sonoma. Sunday eliminations. Alexis DeJoria comes off the line, gets way sideways, smacks the wall. Unfortunately, a fractured pelvis for Alexis, and that's
a big hit.
Yeah, a huge hit.
And unfortunate, I did a little bit of research, and the jury's out on what happened, but what I'm hearing is there may have been something on the track that caused that car to at that early in the run, man, it's hard to get the car shut off so fast.
Right.
And when you hit oil or something on the track, you've got one tire that has traction, the other tire doesn't, it drives you right into the wall, which I understand may be the case that happened here. And boy, that's a bad situation. I don't know what Coletta's, Alexis, NHRA can do to try and make sure that doesn't happen. Obviously, that is a big problem.
Yeah, and for a lot of different reasons. First of all, get well wishes to Alexis,
Yes.
and hopefully we see you back at the racetrack sooner than later. But she's going to miss at least Seattle, maybe Brainerd coming up as well. She's right now on the bump spot to get into the countdown. She's going to be missing valuable points out there, and that's going to be the biggest point right now. She's 150.
So the guys behind her are probably doing a little bit of a. I don't know if they're doing a little bit of a dance because nobody would want to see Alexis out like that, but. It's not making them so unhappy because now they may have a chance to get into the top 10, which means they can get into the countdown. That's a bad way to get in.
Yeah, no question about that. Again, we've seen some really weird, funny car accidents this year. Tim Wilkerson has had 2 of those. Right. I mean, where immediately, right off the hit, that car does something really weird. And at that point, you just cannot react fast enough.
Well, in a lot of ways, the funny cars are safer than a top fuel car because you're sitting over the rear end of the car. The rear end of the car is the strongest thing in the car. So you're sitting there, you're protected by that. But when you hit the wall like Alexis did there, when it just goes flat up and smacks the wall, it also means all that energy gets transferred right into the driver. There's no extra protection. A top fuel dragster, you got a little more, protection in an incident like that. Selzy used to tell me, I feel a lot safer driving a funny car. Well, then Eric Menland's, crash happened, and then all of a sudden that changed a little bit, which, so I don't know. I mean, all bets are off. They go 330 miles an hour. They're not like driving a school bus down the road. But at the same time, if something happens because of a track condition, boy, that's a bad deal. So we'll look further into that and try and bring everybody updates as we can.
Other news and notes coming out from this week, Todd Okahara will take over the tuning duties for Leah Pritchett's Top Fuel car. Mike Guger has been released to go find some other opportunities. But if you're going to have somebody come in and tune your car, Todd Okahara is pretty good
that's perfect
candidate.
with Okahara because Okahara has a long history of working with all those teams over at Schumacher. So it's, Tony, Langdon, he's been there forever. He's the supercharger guy at Schumacher's, and the supercharger right now, I'd like to say, is about the most important piece on the car. That's one of the biggest reasons why the cars are having such a huge performance gain as they have over the last couple of years. And Okahara is the guy that's in charge of the superchargers over at DSR for all the teams, not just for that team. So I don't think that'll be a bad way to go, and Todd Okahara can obviously do a very good job.
Yep. Want to remind you that the O'Reilly Shredder for appearances next week in Indiana and Illinois, Hammond, Illinois on the 12th, and also Glenwood, Illinois, and on the 13th coming up in Hobart, Indiana. If you're in the Midwest, go out and see your local O'Reilly Auto Parts and check out the O'Reilly Shredder. Also coming up this week at Seattle, Morgan Lucas is going to make an appearance. We don't get the opportunity to see Morgan a whole lot out there, but every once in a while when he has time and the schedule frees up, he likes to get out and play in a Top Fuel dragster.
Because that kind of, maybe they're just getting a tune-up ready to go to Brainerd because I know he likes to go to Brainerd, but that seems like, boy, that's a long ways out of the way to go to Seattle.
Yeah, well, the Lucas Oil Nationals is usually at Brainerd, and so they like to get that tune-up going.
And he's had really good luck at Brainerd over the years. He just always has.
Yep, and so that'll be interesting, and we'll have everything that happens at the Northwest Nationals coming up on next week's Straight Line. So for everybody involved, for Robbie Mays, for Daryl Smith, and for the in-studio Doug Herbert, I'm Marty Huff, and we will talk to you next week here on the Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Tune in again next Thursday at noon Eastern on MotorRacingNetwork.com and the MRN app. The Straight Line is the show for drag racing fans and is brought to you by Hercules Tires. This program is also available on demand at the MRN.com Media Center, or you can download it through iTunes or Stitcher. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.